Alrighty, howdy folks. This is the February 3rd edition of the OpenJS Security Collab Space weekly meeting. Um, you can come visit us anytime. It's an open meeting. We look forward to having new visitors. I've just dropped the agenda document inside of the group chat so folks can see. Um, so, um, Before we get started, do folks have any agenda items to add on to what's here so far? Yeah, okay, cool.
All right.
We can always add on things also
And
as we go.
just a little announcement. Um, on Friday, this kind of came in hot and fast, so we didn't, discuss it with the security collab space, but we've been discussing it sort of in context of the Cyber Resilience Act. We've had folks from our foundation attend workshops in Amsterdam, that was hosted by Linux Foundation Europe, and the culmination of that workshop where Toby Langell and Jacob Smith attended on behalf of OpenJS was to get the industry prepared for the Cyber Resilience Act. We have about a year and a half. So what we'll be doing is taking a lot of the best practices coming out of this group, and using that as a base for our community with the initiative that's happening with Linux Foundation Europe. There's a policy working group over there. I believe Crow is leading. So if you're interested, yeah, watch that space and we can bring folks here to keep us updated as well. But really encourage kind of the cross collaboration like we've already been doing. So
Is there a link to this that we can shoot toward people towards?
yeah, let me pull it. We have it
Awesome sauce.
on LinkedIn, but I will, hold on. I'll drop a link to the announcement blog. Um, so OpenJS is in the press release that was distributed, as well as a quote from me on behalf of you all. There you go.
Awesome. I'll put this in the notes here. Is there any particular next step for this group, Robin, that we should be taking beside looking through the press release?
Uh, Not immediate steps, but again, just kind of ongoing. I know,
Okay.
again, Toby and Jacob are going to come back and report back. There was interest from our board as well, just sort of creating best practices templates for people. So um, just encourage folks to keep doing that, but I'll see perhaps about getting maybe someone from OpenSSF to come to this group as well, so we can kind of keep it going both ways. I'll pull the Slack channel while you're doing that too, if you're interested in joining the conversation.
Oh, that'd be awesome. Thanks.
It might take a sec, so, but just carry on.
Okay, cool beans. Thanks for that, Robin. All right. I have basically the agenda is kind of broken up into two parts today. There's some discussion in the beginning and then some just administrative updates at the end. So, um, first discussion point is what to do with the secure releases guide. So last year, this was put together. Oh, here. Um, well, first off, let's step back a little bit. So, as a part of the Alpha Omega SAL for 2025, there's improvements to the secure release best practices document that was created last year. Um, this is the document we're talking about today for folks. And it has several things in it. It has items related to MFA security and um, some NPM stuff and publishing, but it also includes some CVE management and auditing dependencies and handling security reports. So the question is, what kind of direction do we want this document to go? On one hand, the CVE management stuff is covered for the most part under the new the CVD guide that we made. The um, auditing dependencies is a part of the OpenJS security compliance guideline. Handling reports is a part of the CVD guide. Um, and then some of these items up here related to secure releases are also in the security compliance guideline. So I was wondering if folks had any thoughts on, remember this from last year, any thoughts on kind of where we were hoping to go with this originally, and maybe some ideas on where it could go next, now that we have all these other documents and deliverables out. Before I kind of go into my thoughts, I thought I would open to the floor for thought.
Um, Frankly, I don't even remember this document.
Yeah, I don't remember reviewing it either. I just put up a PR to tweak it, but so far it seems good.
That's hilarious because your name's on the commit.
I
This
know
is your
I'm the one who seems to have added it, but it was 2 years ago. So
yeah, that might as well be 2 decades ago.
yeah,
I get it.
exactly.
Um,
I guess it must predate the space then, or
2023.
predate a lot of the current members of the space's involvement.
Yeah,
Yeah,
so
I'm still happy with it for what it's worth, except for the one tweak I just put up a PR for.
PR.
So.
I approved it. And look at it, there's a PR for it. All right, so I've seen it before. I had some suggestions on things to the tune of like 13 of them. Okay, I don't know. So it's got the
Yeah,
thumbs up from me
it's been two
already, I
years,
guess. So
so like
I
yeah, I would
trust me from 2 years ago. That's fine.
the
And
tweak
you.
I put up is
so
just that perhaps pre-pack is better than pre-publish because like if you follow the next paragraph and run npm pack separately, then you won't get your build steps. So like it's actually pretty important if you have build steps to do that. But everything else that through it, I'm still content with.
well, I was wondering if like one, if it made sense to kind of split this up and make sure that the content in the CVD management part of this can go into the CVD guide, and then we can focus in on what secure releases means, and um, maybe have like a new vision for this, because the fundamental idea of a secure releases doc is valid and it fits in the suite of other items that it fits as a distinct work product within the suite of other resources that we've produced over the last year. So one of the things that came up when doing some of the initial security compliance guidelines was feedback was that there wasn't enough stuff related to NPM, people felt. And so I was wondering, one of the things I remember Joe mentioning a long time ago when I first joined about this was wondering, so this is from him, was wondering if there was an opportunity here for us to refactor or modernize um, the NPM best practices guide that OpenSSF put together a long time ago. It's 3 years old now. There's definitely some good stuff in here, and here I'll get dropped a link to this in here
I
for
reviewed this
folks.
one as well when it was written. Now that
Yeah,
I'm paging this stuff back in, so
um, yeah, like there's you work on so much, Jordan. I'm not surprised it takes you forever to remember everything you've touched. Um, so taking this document and seeing what we can do to modernize it or to and to see what is missing that could be in here so that we can make sure that this is the best the guide can be, this is the best guide that it could be. And then whatever work that we work on the OpenJS side, we can we can talk to OpenSSF about migrating back over into the OpenSSF one. How do y'all feel about that idea? We can also take some of the lessons learned from the SBOM and software attestation challenges and feedback doc and insert it into here as well as a more actionable, make this the more actionable version of that more analytic document.
Sorry, the more analytic document being which?
The SBOM attestation and challenges and recommendations. So this document,
Yeah.
it has a lot of description and analysis and things like that, but there's action items and there's specific actions and recommendations that could be moved into a more action-oriented document like this for how to do secure releases. And then certainly includes ideas around NPM, or includes ideas around attestation and things like that, and basically make this like more of like a how-to guide kind of thing.
Yeah. I don't know. I'm a little bit I'm torn between like I'm not for lack of a better word, like there's a signal to noise ratio, right? And I'm not saying any of it's noise, right?
Mm,
But depending on what I'm coming to the document for, if I've got the information I'm looking for and it's interspersed with all this information that I'm not looking for, and it's difficult for me to parse the document and find, I'm
mm.
not going to want to use it. Um, so are the interrelated things connected enough, or is it sort of some of the information is maybe a little more orthogonal? I don't know.
I
I
think
don't have an
that's
answer to that question. I'm just thinking out loud.
Mm.
I think that that is talking about the challenge of like if you only have one source of truth for things, then that also means you really can only have one voice to describe a given thing. And exactly as you said, Chris, people are going to show up uh, basically needing different voices. So like a big ass document with section numbers and like where you can find in page for what you need, but no one's ever going to read from front to back. That is an appropriate document, an ideal document for some people, and a overwhelmingly useless document for others. Similarly, the guide I wrote a year or change ago, which is more like a first person, I'm like talking somebody through a process. I think that is an ideal document for who I wrote it for, which is for the folks who are showing up and don't really know anything and want to be kind of handheld through the process. But that is also an overwhelming and useless document for other types of people. So it's like I think we're there that we may want to try to thread that needle by duplicating some information, even if we have cross references, um,
Mhm.
for the purpose of like refining which sets of voices we want to have or which sets of uh, audiences we're trying to help the most.
Got it.
And I don't, other than the limits of our own time, I don't think we have to limit the number of user stories we serve or whatever, but it is probably helpful for us to clarify what those are.
Yeah, so I think what I heard from you, Jordan, is that we really the purpose, audience, like the audience and purpose, and down to like the situation,
Yeah.
the the audience persona, and understand what they're dealing with when they would go to this document is important is important, so we can make sure that it's actually useful for that audience.
Mhm.
Another question is, would this make sense for like, Jordan mentioned like a giant document with everything in there, like single page. Um, is this somewhere where it makes sense to have like a nested document?
Mm,
Where you have the high level stuff and then you've got links to drill down into like the more specific bits if you care about them. That's one thing I really like about the CERT guide for vulnerability management. They do a good job of having like high level stuff. They've got like in a nutshell page. And then of course, if you want like drill down into the nitty gritty, you can absolutely do that. Um, at the same time, that doesn't discount that to what Jordan was saying that maybe not everybody loves that presentation style. I don't know, but
Right. Like, in other words, the definition of what is signal and what is noise is not universal. It depends on the audience.
it's true. I'm not sure how much y'all have looked at this NPM best practices guide. Like I said, it's 3 years old. And I looked through this document when I was building out the security compliance guide. And I wouldn't say it's I would say it's out of date. I wouldn't say it's necessarily wrong, but it is out of date since there's been a lot of changes to NPM, especially around security, since this was originally published. And so this feels like NPM feels like a big part of what it means to do secure releases. Um, so I was wondering if maybe an action item for right now is for folks to go back through and read this document and also go back through and read the SBOM attestation document and also read the current document that's there. And we can work on, um, I can create a new doc or we can just talk about it in GitHub um, on exactly what kind of content we think should or should not be in this document, be very precise on um, the topics that are actually included. And maybe that would help us get more tight on what it looks like and what the next steps should be for this. How do folks feel about that? We can also just talk through it and walk through it together in the meeting. I'm open to ideas here. I presume I'll be doing the majority of the work, of course, but I think there's an opportunity here for us to create a document that we haven't worked with OpenSSF as much as we could. And I do wonder if having some sort of connection with this um, NPM best practices guide would give us an opportunity to collaborate more and influence back um, on some stuff like this. Yes, no, maybe so.
I think
Yeah, I
it's,
mean,
yeah.
sounds good as a goal. That was definitely one of the things I had mentioned repeatedly when we were working on the what did we call it? Our guide for the name escapes me. Um,
Compliance guide.
is like a best practices for OpenJS projects guide or
Mhm.
whatever we called it. Yeah, the idea there was some of the things that we saw and we're looking at like some of the OpenSSF guides were like, oh, we should update this because this is
Mm.
not great. So yeah, definitely a pending to do there to upstream some of the feedback that we developed working on that. And so this seems like in the similar category to me.
I think the other thing though is OpenSSF I don't know, at least historically has had a, how would I say it? They have over representation from folks with an enterprise background and severe underrepresentation with folks from a non-enterprise open source background. And
Mm.
so it might behoove us to get on the same page before we involve them, with at least before we like involve them in details. Obviously we can reach out as soon as we need to try and be like, hey, we're going to be sending some suggestions. We've been working on it here, and but if we can't agree on something, then that may make it trickier to convince or convey to those folks the understanding that led us to where we're at. I'm trying to be very diplomatic in the way I'm phrasing this.
Yeah, so I think that's totally fair. What I just heard is that um, we should coordinate with them, go attend a meeting, let them know that we're taking a look at doing this work, get their take on it, which totally makes sense. But before we do that, we should kind of form our own opinion on what we're trying to create so that we have a clear message for them.
Yeah. Because like we're all in theory coming from a place of what is the best thing for the JavaScript ecosystem, and that is not the first principles they're starting from. And so we need to
Hmm.
be really like uh we need to have like confidence and evidence to back our assertions, because they aren't coming from the same first principles.
Okay, that
Yeah,
sounds
I
good to
mean,
me.
so like as a member of the best practices working group, I will say it's not that like cut and dry.
Oh yeah, I was speaking about
And
OpenSSF as a whole, not any specific working group.
Sure.
Um,
Yeah,
Hmm.
yeah, yeah. No, I'm
just to
just
be
saying,
clear.
like, you're not like I'm getting the sense like you're gonna meet with like a ton of resistance, and you need to have like all your ammunition and alignment and everything, and it's not that deep. You know what I mean? It's they are amenable. The group is amenable to feedback and improving the guides and everything. I can say that a lot of the guides, the way that it goes is like a little task force is assembled. Sometimes it's a SIG, a special interest group or whatever. And they just like hammer through getting the document out, and then kind of when they're done and they stop like having the meeting specifically for that document, it kind of sits there and stagnates.
Hmm.
I think they, I can't speak for everybody in the working group, but on behalf of the working group, I think that the contribution and ideas for changes to those documents would be welcome. um, you might butt heads on things where they're trying to push like the OpenSSF stuff, like scorecard, like if you want to,
Or Sigstore
things,
or a number of
things like
others.
that.
That's
Yeah, you
exactly
know,
the category of thing I'm referring to.
Got it.
so for what it's worth, anyway.
So, what do you all feel like are the right next steps?
I don't know, like because we kind of talked about like three different things, like combining guides, updating the NPM, upstreaming some changes to the NPM guide, upstreaming changes to the SCM guide, which we didn't specifically talk about, but we talked about that when working on
Mm.
the best practices guidelines for JavaScript projects. Um, so I don't know, have to start somewhere. Not that
Um,
there can't be
I,
parallel paths, but um,
yeah, I wonder if it's possible for you all to take an action item to go cruise through the NPM guide that OpenSSF currently has, and we can then come back, and I'll do the same, and I'll capture some thoughts that I have on potential ways to improve it, um, and what we could potentially do with that guide. And then we can have another discussion when we're a bit better informed on the content itself. Is that a reasonable next step before we
yeah,
try to really hammer out a vision?
yeah. I'm wondering if Jordan, do you know? I feel like in HackMD, there was something kind of like not user friendly with the commenting system at some point. I recall in the past. But anyway,
Um,
the real what
the
I'm getting at is
yeah.
like if we take the because it's MD file the npm guide. If we take that, copy pasta into a hackmd, and then we can make our comments on it, and collaborate that way. Would that be a good um, next step?
Yeah,
Yeah.
I mean, that sounds like a good idea.
The main DX issue I remember was that if a comment thread is resolved, it becomes quite difficult to locate it later. Um, Even more difficult than Google Docs. So like, but I think it's still fine to use it. We just have to like not have long conversations in there.
Would we rather use Google Docs to get started because we can't have long conversations in that? I mean, I don't mind taking the time to like clean it up so it formats
I
correctly
think
in
the
Google Doc.
markdown formatting back and forth may be tricky, but if you're volunteering to do that and we get a final pass on the markdown version, then that's probably fine.
Yeah, I mean, I'm happy to not push you guys into Google Docs. I know I do that a lot compared to for open source work compared to Markdown, but for this kind of, I would say when I've worked with you all in the past on getting feedback and thoughts on longer things, I found the Google Docs lab to be pretty nice. So um, I can take that action item then to let's see.
Possible they have improved their comment interfaces, but yeah, I don't. It doesn't. I don't have strong feelings.
Okay. Um, all right, cool beans. That sounds good. So I'll take that and then I'll kind of task and stuff for reviewing that um, after this. So cool. Any other thoughts about that before we move on to other items? Anything else you'd like to see? Any requests? Okay, simple, easy peasy, all done. Alrighty. Next. Oh, just as a friendly reminder also that the deadline for this item is where is it? Is H1. So we've got time, but that means I presume that we might wind up publishing something before H1, given what we're working on. But I gave us that time when we projected things out. But that is kind of the idea here, is to get something released at least by the end of H1. But I think it'd be cool if we could do something sooner. So with that, going on to next discussion item, which is the OpenJS security web page content. So Robin, I'm not sure if you saw this email from me. I put it into a task. But after, so just to bring folks up to speed, um, the idea here that came up was that since we're creating a security web page for the CNA, does it make sense for us to go bigger than just having a CNA landing page and to do other things with that page? And so I spent some time thinking about what information OpenJS as an organization can have on its security web page, independent of having it of the CNA itself. And so I'd like to get your all's thoughts on an approach where instead of having the security link at the bottom of the OpenJS page, which here I'll just click one of these links. Oh, let me, that's a different one. Instead of just having the link down here, go to the CNA page. It goes to a security page that more is like a generic organizational security page, and it has different stuff on it. And from there, then there's links to the CNA page and other resources. So using Formatting, I have links in here to give like examples of what it could potentially look like in by stealing different um, work that's like different visual artifacts that have already been done. So we're not creating new UI structures or anything like that. And hopefully, it's theoretically an easy copy paste. So the first thing would be this idea that in the header, which is up here, we'd have some positional language about OpenJS's views on security, some just like more traditional, like we appreciate security research is important to us. And then below that, um, there being an intro to explain the security activities and resources that the collab space has put together. I don't know. This is more for like when we do copy editing, whether or not to acknowledge the Sovereign Tech Fund and Alpha Omega in this. Then there's a section here that looks like, oops, this next that would basically highlight the CNA and send people off to the CNA page itself, because that's kind of right at the top. That's where we're going to be most of the action is. And then there's a security resources section or maintainer resources, whatever we want to call it. And these are the kind of resources I was thinking about including, which is like the CVD guidance, the CNA guide, the compliance guidelines, the security release guideline we were just talking about, the dashboard visualization work that Ulysses is doing, and the training that Socket put together, and the SBOM Providence recommendations. And then below that, we'd have like a contact us section where we tell people about the Cloud Space Weekly meeting. We tell people about the security Slack, um, and potentially, depending upon some other ideas I had, were just as a question was like, do we want to have a security training section where we point people not just to the OpenJS security training that was developed, but also Linux Foundation classes like the OS Top 10 and developing secure software, which are kind of the sorts of documents we mentioned in the compliance guideline for maintainers having taken training. Should we have like a section at the bottom where we have like announcements or latest blog posts related to security, um, which is kind of like here at the bottom of the main webpage. Yeah, I just wanted to get your all's thoughts on this idea. Robin, in particular, what were your feelings?
Yeah, I think this is a great outline. And I think what we need to think about are sort of the different audiences. I think, you know, I think the way this flows is really good. I think we're just missing like sort of that end user audience. And so that's where maybe our ecosystem sustainability program might help, just to make sure that people know that they're either running current versions of things, or if they're not, how they can get secure through Hero Devs or others. But yeah, I think we just needed some place for people to go. And do you think that the CNA would have the most real estate from that page? Like, how much traffic are you expecting to get? You're on mute, Rod.
Thank you. The CNA webpage is kind of like a call to action at the top. It doesn't actually have any content related to the CNA in that page. We'll push people to another page dedicated to the CNA.
Oh, I know that. I knew that, but I'm just saying I did know that you would have a separate page, but I'm just saying when people come to a security page,
Mm.
are they really going to get information on, on the CNA, or taking an action there? Or are they just, they're looking for more educational resources and training?
It's a good point. We can definitely reorder this so that the CNA is called out so people are aware of it, but We can definitely reorder this or change the way we
Well, it's just
reference
a
people to the
question for
CMA.
everybody. I'm not saying we should one way or another, so.
Yeah, I mean, I can't
And
speak for everyone else in the world, but sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off. Go ahead.
No, go ahead.
Oh, I rarely go to like an organization's like security what do you call it, advisory page.
Mhm.
I'm rarely going directly to like Mozilla's security information
Mhm.
page. If I get there, I'm getting there through a link from an advisory database or
Yep.
something like that, and going directly to the reference
Mhm.
link. So I would say, again, just one person's experience, that the security page, like the main landing page, should be more resource specific.
For developers, maintainers, and end users, maybe. Yeah.
Sure.
Yeah, I imagine the primary audience for this page being um, maintainers
Mm,
because no?
no, probably not.
Okay.
I would think
Who do
more
you
end, I would think more end users. I don't know. Am I wrong? Chris is like, I can
I
see
don't think
his.
anybody's wrong. I think,
no?
That's
does it
true.
make sense to like to list the constituencies and
Yeah.
prioritize them? Everybody loves that.
Mhm. Yeah.
Jordan's nodding his head. I'm not sure if he's nodding in
Mhm.
uh sardonic or not, but
One just quick note I want to add on the training. I want to keep it limited to Linux Foundation trainings because there's so many people offering wonderful trainings around the world. It would be really difficult for us just to pick a few to feature on the webpage. So
Mm.
uh, that would sort of prevent the folks knocking on our door saying, asking for links and things like that. So we just limit it to more the neutral LF, which is us, because our content will land on that Linux Foundation. They're going to have an entire security channel essentially where our
Mm.
content will as well. So I
Yeah,
think ours will fall under. Mhm.
the two I linked here, for example, are just the two main free ones that Linux Foundation has, and these were ones when we were developing the compliance guidelines. There's a guideline around maintainers having some basic secure development training,
Mhm.
and then so understanding like the OWASP top 10 and developing secure software were two of the ones that came up during that we have referenced in that documentation already. So would this be safe to include just these
Oh,
two?
yeah, because if they live in the LF education
Mhm.
catalog, I would include it. But again, once we start involving folks like third-party companies and people, then
Mm.
it becomes very difficult for us to like, I always say I don't want to get into the business of picking winners or losers by
Yeah,
doing that.
for
So
sure.
yeah, Chris.
Do we
that totally makes sense.
what about the nascent intro course that you've had commissioned recently?
That is just being formatted now. We had feedback from you and Jordan. So it goes through an LF process to basically format the course in the tool and translate the code. We'll
Okay.
announce that in probably a month.
Oh,
Do a
sure.
big
It was more,
marketing.
yeah. I was more asking like, is that something we should also list
Oh,
here?
that would be number one, I would think, because yeah.
What was that content? I'm not sure what that
And
is.
again,
So
if
I
you
can.
go to the Linux Foundation, there'll be free training. There are two security boxes you can check, but they are
Mhm.
Um, so we may just highlight our JavaScript one, and then again, they're reformatting the entire security, we'll package it, all of the security offerings. I'd have to go to the
Got it.
Linux Foundation.
Cool. I will go look at, let's see. There's
Training.linuxfoundation.org, catalog, free courses. You can do cybersecurity. there is a web and app development one. I think our security, our JavaScript will fall under web and app development and cybersecurity when it's done.
Okay, cool.
Mhm.
There are 3 checkbox here. Oh, another thing, since we're talking about it, I noticed that the training link at the top of openjsf.org does not go links to this now.
Uh-oh, okay. Thank you. Like that.
I can
Meta.
go just kind of task for Ben.
I just have a meta question, which I don't know if we have an answer for it right now, but like, is this web page and content going to be like something we can actually update somewhat
Yeah.
more autonomously? Like we have pull requests in GitHub and stuff for the content, and
Yeah,
because like
it's pretty user friendly too. It's using Prismic. If you look at the open visualization team, all the Kepler, they have their own, it's a working group essentially. They have their own website, openvisualization.org. They have a few people in their working group that just have, we've added to the added permissions so they can make changes directly. So.
Yeah, Ben and I were talking about that too, because I know he's really busy. And he mentioned to me in a one-on-one that um, it's a little bit hard to work with under the hood to create new pages and move things around, but I'm happy to take a stab at working on that.
Yeah, and then, but once the page is created, the reason we chose this technology is because Kylie in marketing and now Jen,
Hmm,
Kylie's at the end of March. Kylie usually makes all of the changes.
I
But
see.
if you want to make major structural things, that's fine. I also on the blogs, I don't know if you need a separate scrolling thing with blogs. I'm not sure how good we've been on tagging, but I would say less is more, and as much as we can link out to GitHub repos and stuff, the better, so we're not having to make changes twice. And we'll work with you all on creating short, punchy text, but
Mhm.
having the essence of what you want to say is great. So
Yeah, one of the things I was thinking of is that each of the resources is in like a box like this, and we have like some description
cool.
along the way. Um, I wasn't, another question, I wasn't sure. When looking at the web page, there's foundation leadership and governance and members. Did it make sense to use that page to promote the security collab space as a distinct group, or do we want it just to be focused on resources? I'm not
Go to
trying to
community.
self-promote or anything. I
Go to
just,
community. Go to community. Collaboration is where collaboration spaces are, up at the very top.
first item.
oh,
Yeah. We have, keep going. I think we have our collaboration spaces there. And it is buried. I mean, security has been such a huge part of our foundation. I'd advocate for making it its own top line item. I mean, it's how we've gotten most all of our grants pretty much. So
hmm. Okay, cool. Um, yeah, I'm like I said, I'm not trying to self-promote here, but I feel like I've noticed that this kind of thing can maybe help give things a little bit more sense of place and drive better engagement because you have like names to faces and you have like a distinct group because we do have that kind of information here, right? Um, and I've never bothered getting myself on here. Even I should probably do that sometime.
yeah.
But having a reference to this page and and explaining things a little bit more in the web page itself maybe will help out. Yeah, this is interesting. This is good to know. So let's see. So going back to this, um,
We should probably remove a couple of names from that list too, but obviously not that's not a high priority.
Yeah, it's not like a rush item. Yeah. The let's see, where was the thing I was looking at here? Oh, it's in here. So cool. So this idea of security resources, um, rather than maintainer resources, that works.
Mm.
Um, I have here that like the main audience for this page are end users and project maintainers. What kind of things do we imagine end users would find valuable from this page? One of the reasons I kind of assumed, and I could be totally wrong on this, that the focus was maintainers and not end users. So I figured end users would gravitate to the individual security pages of each of the projects, because that's going to give them more specific things that they need in each project. But we can, thinking about it, we could include, this is a little bit hard to maintain, but we could include direct references to the project's security pages directly, so people can have that singular list. Just as an example. Oh, people raise their hands. Chris.
I think we need to define our terms because end users are project maintainers. So like when you say end users, do you mean people consuming OpenJS projects like
Mhm.
as
Mm,
developers? And by project
mm.
maintainers, do you mean also those people or OpenJS related project maintainers? Or like, I think we have to be a little bit
Yeah. So two
explicit.
things, you know, I think what I hear from enterprise members, corporate members, and I think even Steve has said this, I want them to know that when they come to the site, that our projects are going to be among the most secure open source projects that they could choose to use.
Mm.
And I think what's great about this group is when we set out to build security best practices, it just wasn't for our 30 projects, it was for the entire ecosystem. So it's kind of two things. So yeah, project maintainers for not OpenJS hosted projects, but it's the JavaScript ecosystem project maintainers. Yeah.
So you get,
Yeah.
then Robin, I think, was also alluding to you're going to have OSPO people.
Probably.
Um, I think that even non-OpenJS project maintainers is going to be a small number of individuals. I think you're going to have, just by the sheer, um, I don't know, order of magnitude of the difference in size of these groups, more so you will have, I would expect, just application developers consuming the
Mhm.
libraries, not necessarily like a project maintainer,
Right.
but just
Yep.
people working on their own applications, whether it's personal or work or school or whatever it might be. Okay, you want to, okay, lump those together. That's fine.
I wouldn't say non-OpenJS. I would just, and you don't even have to say, well, I would maybe just make it a separate line, just app developers as a separate line. Mhm. We've got 5 minutes.
Mm. Okay. Um, cool. So what do we feel are like the next step on this one? Maybe we should talk about audiences more next week
Mhm.
to get this a little bit tighter.
Well, and it's also
And
worth noting
we,
that we need a bare minimum in order to be able to be a CNA. Like if I'm looking at the right, like, and so we should, as long as those things are checked, it's fine to do this sort of iteratively
Mm.
because the traffic, like the audiences that come to these pages are going to shift as links to them start to appear on CVEs. And so I think it's okay to kind of just put something bare bones out there and wait and see what people are asking for.
Agree, don't need to, yeah, agonize over personas
Yeah.
and things.
But like, because like we do need to get the CNA, like it's February, and like I think we started talking about this like long before October. Like we need to get the
Yeah.
CNA launched so we can start like being involved in CVEs so that we can have traffic that we then can find a way to serve. And so I would try to, I would say next steps are what is the fastest path to that, and anything else can be punted.
Yeah, that sounds good to me. Yeah, in the few minutes we have left, I just have some updates and actually on the point
Chris
you're
has his
asking,
hand.
like, oh, Chris, sorry, I missed that.
Yeah, I didn't realize we were talking about the general security advisory page that we need for the CNA. Because if that's what we're talking about, I completely agree with Jordan. You should just
Well,
create that
we're
page.
talking about the broad stuff,
Yeah,
I
I
think, but
think we're
I'm
pretty,
saying that the broad stuff isn't going to be paid attention to until the CNA stuff is out. Go ahead, Robin. Sorry.
we're pretty agile. I'm just gonna take this and work with Jen and Ben just to get kind of a wireframe, just get a draft up. Again, we don't have,
Yeah.
we won't let perfect get in the way of good, right? So we'll get a draft
Yeah,
and we can, yeah.
Yeah, I just agreed that yeah, we don't want to be blocking on content
Yeah.
and that sort of thing for the requirement that we need for the CNA.
But on the
Yeah,
CNA, what's your headline? That's really important on that security page. So if you can,
yeah. So the next step, this is just the updates I have for on that. So, as some of you saw, because you're on the email list, I emailed last week all of the project maintainers. I sent an email to each distinct set of project maintainers, which took longer to send all those emails than I thought it would. But the point is that we have 6 town halls set up. 2 of them are tomorrow, 1 Friday, and then 2 more on Tuesday next week as well.
hey, Brett,
And I have,
I didn't get those,
I
or
didn't get
Scott?
anything.
oh yeah, I didn't want to spam all of you with 30 different invites, but what I can do is I can add you to the calendar invitations for those town halls so you can see where they're up, where they are. The
I
email
mean,
Yeah,
itself is in the guide doc, so that's the email that the announcement
yeah.
that's in the
So
guide doc is the email that was sent out.
so you
all right,
got
my
you have
cons
all our maintainer list. You got that list from Ben?
Yes. I
Okay.
have some questions on that one too, but I did use that for all
okay,
of the projects.
my concern here though is that if I didn't know about it, I don't know who else on Express didn't know about it. I haven't seen anything about it in any of the
Yeah.
Express channels. So like Ulysses, did you get this?
I didn't bother sending you guys the email because we talk about it just here.
They need to be on it to participate in
Oh,
the conversation.
My
Yeah,
bad.
Red. Yeah. Did you get any RSVPs for tomorrow?
No, but there's 6 of them. We sent out the only ones that didn't receive one directly were actually Jordan and Express. So I can send the email to that group so that they each have the email so they can deal with that. But
Yeah,
yes,
I would
I
include
just
this
didn't send them an email
group,
because I just didn't. I figured they would hear it here.
our staff, and then also put a notice in the we have a maintainers channel and a CPC channel with
Okay.
all of the dates and times. So
Okay, cool. I can do that. So
6 is a lot. Maybe I was suggesting 2, but
all right. Ulysses, I'll share the link to the TC to that document that Rod just shared, so everybody's aware.
okay. You said there's a maintainer Slack channel.
Yep.
Okay. I can do that.
But definitely
Um,
this project council as well. That's important. And a lot of
oh, okay.
maintainers are on that
There's a what
channel.
Slack channel?
Maintainers, but it's pretty small. I would go with the cross project council. There you have most of our maintainers in the CPC channel.
Okay.
I know it's a big channel, but just say this is targeted for, yeah.
Okay, we'll do.
Okay.
All right, sweet. Last big item for getting the CNA actually moving is I'm going to reach out to MITRE about them being our CNA instead, since I haven't heard back from Red Hat. So that way we can just get things moving pretty fast. So just as an FYI on that. And also, I had a question that I can bring offline for Robin and Ben is like, the Cloud Space meeting recordings are not in the LF portal for me, unfortunately. So I can't link to them in the agenda. So yeah, just I'll talk to Ben offline about that. So cool. Thank you, folks. Have a great week and happy Monday. Toodles.